All right, I'd like to welcome everybody to today's webinar. Thank you very much for joining us. Let your colleagues know we're going to be doing a series of these over the next number of weeks. This week, we're going to be all about prompting, and it's going to be led by my host. I don't know how he's looking on yours. For mine, it's down below. I feel like the Brady Bunch. Hi there. And so we're going to be kicking off. And a couple of things before we get started, just as housekeeping. Number one, after this session is being recorded. At the conclusion of this session, I will be posting to our blog. You can get to it very easily, and I'll put this into the Q&A where you do your questions. If you have a question, go to QA, not chat, QA. And so if you go to aka.ms/HLS blog, that will bring you there. And you can see we have a post announcing today's session. That post, it will be updated with the recording and everything there. So head on over to aka.ms/HLS blog, and you'll be able to share that with your friends, family, loved ones, and of course your colleagues. But without further ado, last thing is, if you have questions, post them to the QA chat. I'm going to go off video. I'll be in the background. Today, my colleague, Daryll Rowe, is going to be the lead in today's session. You'll hear me jump in once in a while, but he's got a great session lined up with some hands-on activities for you. You'll be able to follow along, and they're a lot of fun. I got to go through some of those with him yesterday, so look forward to that. But post your questions to the QA panel, your comments, and also, if you want, let us know where you're from. Love to hear, and if you do, I'll give you little shout outs along the way. And with that, I'm going to shut up. Daryll, I'm going to stop sharing, and the floor is yours to go ahead and share your screen.
Awesome. Thanks, Michael. Appreciate it. And thanks for inviting me onto the webinar. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. I'm Daryll Rowe. I'm a principal technical specialist in the health and life sciences space in Microsoft. I work alongside Mike. We talk pretty much every day. So we're pretty much pure Copilot and AI. And what we've done is we're actually going to talk about we're calling this a Prompt-Along-Athon. Let me just share my screen. And you can see what this is going to be about. So this is going to be a little bit different. So instead of just me just talking and everyone just listening or falling asleep or a combination of, the idea is this is going to be interactive. So we're going to do some prompting, and then we're going to put some of the prompts in the QA, so you can just copy paste them, or you can type them on yourself. And the idea is just to get to play with Copilot. So that's kind of like what the Prompt-Along-Athon is really about, just to really understand how to prompt, best practices, get used to using AI prompting compared to something like a search engine. And then moving along, if you have Copilot today, go ahead and use it. If you're looking forward to getting Copilot in your organization, gets you a little bit of a head start on how to actually interact with it. So we're going to talk about also what is Copilot. So we're going to go through that and how Copilot can help you. And then the art of prompting. So there's a little bit of slide where I'm just basically best practice to how to prompt. And then finally, we're going to do the Prompt-Along. So the Prompt-Along is going to be that interactive piece where we're going to do some little exercises on the screen. You don't need M365 Copilot. As long as you've got access to a browser and Copilot, you can do this yourselves. We're not going to do anything that needs any extra special licensing. And then we're going to try and wrap up, assuming we've got time, to show you some of the cool stuff that Consumer Copilot can do. And I'm going to talk to it. So fingers crossed that goes and works. So let me just going to switch my camera off because I think it's going to distract. So let's go into what Copilot is. Oops. If the PowerPoint moves, come on, PowerPoint. So I actually asked Copilot what it is, because that's probably the best thing to do. I could have sat here and try and explain and write it, but I thought, hey, you can ask it yourself. So I went to Copilot and said, hey, what is Copilot? And Copilot generated these responses. So it mentions it's a generative AI designed to help with a wide range of tasks. It leverages AI models like GPT-4. It can provide productivity assistance, can do information retrieval, creative support. So these are really things it came up with. Then it mentioned, what is generative AI? Now, not many people know what generative AI actually is. So I asked it to explain what that is, and it's giving me this nice wordy explanation of what it is, which is actually pretty cool. But I asked Copilot, well, actually, can you simplify that a little bit? So I asked it to explain it in simpler terms. And generative AI is really a type of artificial intelligence that can create new things like text, makes new stuff, helps with data, personalizes content, sparks creativity. So think of it as a creative assistant, not just a search engine, not just an AI. It can do a bunch of things. Think of it almost like a personal assistant you have that's automated. So you've probably heard the term Copilot a lot. If you've ever talked to Microsoft, Copilot is our thing now. I think we say Copilot more often than we mention Windows or anything else. So if you're talking to someone at Microsoft and you say, hey, I'm interested in Copilot, they're going to say, well, okay, which one is it? Because Copilot appears everywhere. It appears on the web. It appears in Microsoft 365. Windows 11 has it. Our Dynamics product has it. Our Fabric Power BI product has it. Security has it. So you do need to narrow that down. So, Copilot is just kind of a branding thing. But what we're going to do today is we're actually going to focus on the web. And this is something that everybody has access to. Now, whether you go to bing.com or you open up the Edge browser into the little Copilot icon, or if you do have Copilot in your organization, so most customers actually have access to that, even if they don't have the full Microsoft 365 Copilot, most customers do have access to the Copilot that is what we formerly called Bing Chat Enterprise. It's changed its name a few times, but think of it as just Microsoft Copilot for the web. And that really is a connection to the internet version. It does have some guardrails around it if you're using it within your organization. So it's doing some protection there. But if you don't have that as well, you can just go to bing.com, click the icon, and when we get to the prompt along, you can join there. So question is, how can Copilot help you or help me? And really, I wanted to explain what are easy things to do. So people see Copilot and they get, they see a prompt box and you think, well, what do I do? What do I type? Where do I go with this? What can it do? It doesn't really say a lot. It doesn't explain what it does, unfortunately. It's not that obvious. So the idea of this session today is to go through that and show you some cool things that it can do. I use Copilot every day. I use it for my personal assistant. I use it for setting up or reviewing stuff internally in work. I use it in my outside of work. I now use it as a search engine. So, like anybody else, I used to go into, a certain search engine, Bing, or the other guys. And I'd be fine with it. But Copilot can actually find me stuff way, way quicker and the right stuff. It just shortens that experience for me too. So I asked Copilot, why would I use you instead of a search engine? And this is what Copilot gave me, right? So this is literally a copy paste from what it answered. Copilot is conversational. So think of it as you're talking to Copilot. It's not just a dumb box that you're asking it, putting commands in, it's responding back with. It's a conversational interface. And you'll see that actually when I get to the end and I do the voice demo, you'll see how cool it can actually behave. I can also ask it follow-up questions. It has context. So unlike a search where I have to keep redoing the search over and over until I get what I want, I can actually have conversation with Copilot and actually give me what I want. It can help me do tasks. I can actually, if I want to generate content, if I want to summarize things, I can even ask it to do coding. So it is, not just a search engine, it can do a bunch of other things as well. It has engagement and personality, so you'll see that more in the consumer side. I can have a conversation with it. But context awareness is super important because you never necessarily get the prompt right the first time. And think of prompts as the same as a search query. It's just a different term for it. And quite often when you're searching, you never get that right the first time. You have to go in there and iterate it and iterate to find what you want. The same goes with this, but because there's context, my iterations are actually, far less than what I would have to do from a search. And then it can do other things as well. It can generate images. I can upload files to it. It can do a ton of other things. So again, super, super useful. So I've got some slides in here, and I'm more of like an aid memoir to myself around how search works, for example. I actually want to demo these. So I'll run through them very, very quickly. Then we'll go into the demo and the prompt along, because I think that's really interesting to see how that works. So here's a prime example. I'm looking for some hotels in London. I'm going to go and travel home. I've just come back from London, but I'm going to probably go again in April. I'm looking at some hotels, and here you can see a typical search. And on a search, I'm not picking these guys out in particular. It could be Bing as well. The first 3 things are adverts. In fact, the first several things are adverts. They've got to scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. And then maybe I get to like the 5th or 6th link. Maybe I have to go several pages in. It takes me a while to find stuff. Ask Copilot for me. And straight away, it picks up 5 things. Now, it's leveraging other things, looking at other articles, but it's making some recommendations for me. So it immediately saved me a bunch of time. Now, imagine I want to iterate on that. And okay, well, I want to stay in a hotel for under $100 a night. I want to stay somewhere near Piccadilly Circus. So Piccadilly, if you're familiar with London, is the centre of London. Can't really get any more central than that. It is tricky to actually get a hotel there for $100. Now, I can search through these different aggregators and that and maybe find something. But here, straight away, Copilot has found 3 potential opportunities. I don't have to go searching. And then again, I've got that classification. I can go back and I actually can go drill deeper and say, okay, which one has accessibility, availability, which one has, maybe I can bring my pet. I can go and iterate on that. So straight away from search, multiple pages to 1 query or 1 prompt, and I'm done. Another prime example of that. I was looking at this the other week. Thinking of getting a new phone. I've got Android today, but do I have to look at an iPhone or a Galaxy S24 from Samsung? I put the search in, and this is what I got. I got a bunch of links, some videos, and 41.7 million hits. That's not really practical, right? I just want to know what's the differences and compare the features, right? So imagine asking Copilot to do that. And ask it just to make it a little bit clearer. I said, put the results in a table. Straight away, I have my results in one thing. So 41.7 million options, or I can actually just go and see it here. And it does also include the places where it's picked this information up from. So there's YouTube videos, phone sites. Again, saves me a bunch of time. So, and these are the things we're going to cover off today. And I'm actually going to show you just briefly what they are. We're going to do some research in our Prompt-Along. We're going to look for a new electric car, something we can do. I can use Copilot for learning. So imagine I'm taking a history test. Now, I'm asking again about London. I've asked questions about Henry VIII. Now, I wasn't great at history at school. So this is actually really useful for me if I'm studying for a test. I could actually change this prompt and change it to something, anything else. So what's really nice is I can actually change the parameters a little bit. Maybe it's questions about George Washington or Julius Caesar. So very, very straightforward. And Copilot can actually prompt you to do that and prompt me through a little quiz, which is really nice. Going back to my London trip, I can actually ask it in 1 prompt. I'm planning my trip, just give me the hotels, suggest some places to eat as well. And while I'm there, is there a good play or musical to see while I'm there? Because London's famous for, musicals and plays, just like New York is. Other things I use Copilot for. Imagine I want to read a web page. I'm studying for something, or maybe I'm doing some research. This is an 11-minute podcast from NPR, so WBEZ. I wish I had time to listen to it. I could read the transcript. What I've done, though, I've gone on the Copilot. I've just clicked the Copilot button and said, hey, can you just summarize this page for me? And it explains to me, is this worth listening to? I can get the cliff notes here. If I do want to listen to it, I can go back and listen to it. I can even ask it questions about the page. So if I wanted to know more about Rennie Zellweger's there, I can ask questions about that, and it'll actually go through the transcripts and give me answers. So again, saves me a ton of time. And again, we'll go practice that. One of the things Copilot can actually do is simplify complex information as well. So I know nothing about nuclear fusion. I'm definitely not a nuclear scientist. I'm definitely not a rocket scientist. I'm never going to get hired by NASA or anybody like that. But out of curiosity, I saw the movie Oppenheimer a few months ago. I know that's nuclear fission, but I hear about nuclear fusion. So I've gone to Wikipedia and it's given me this great article, but it's several pages long and it's a lot to read. So I can ask Copilot to summarize it for me. Not just that. Again, I don't understand nuclear fusion. Even when it does summarize, it gives me some very, very complex answers. Imagine if I was an 8th grader, I can actually do that, pull that information out, and it simplifies it straight away so that even I can understand it, which I think is awesome. And again, we're going to practice that as well. So one of the cool things, and probably people on the call have probably used, is ChatGPT. And ChatGPT is provided by OpenAI, and we partner with OpenAI. So Copilot is part of the OpenAI GPT stack. So we have benefits. We have access to the internet using the Bing index and everything else, but we can also generate content as well. So imagine I've got to create a blog post about Copilot, and this is something that Mike and I do frequently now. When you read our blog posts, we don't just make them pure AI generated. We do go there and edit them, but you can imagine it does save a lot of time. So I can actually go there and ask Copilot to create me a blog post for LinkedIn, and also include the hashtags. So here I work straight away. That one prompt generate me a blog post. I can go in there, fix up what I want to change, everything else. I can post that. So something that would have taken me maybe an hour or two to do, I can do in a matter of minutes. We're going to get to this one as well. We've got a little bit of fun and games coming up. So we're going to create a little image together. If I think that's something that a little bit of fun we can have. As well as we're going to have a little quiz. So we're actually going to get Copilot to give us a game of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. So we'll get to that in a sec. Alrighty. I'm saying a lot. Is there any questions on the Q&A, Mike? But anything of
So
interest?
far, no questions. Me posting. So if you have questions, put them into the QA panel. I am sharing as he goes and has pointed out a number of the different prompts. I've started sharing those into the chat, so you'll be able to copy those as well and use them. So be sure to check that out. And I do see somebody just, here we go. Can you share? Oh, great question. So Meryl asked if we can share Daryll's slides afterwards. Absolutely. When I post this, at the end, I'll come back on, show you again where we'll post this. But it'll be at aka.ms/HLS blog, and we'll have them in PDF format for you to download.
Right, that's great, Mike. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the bit where I'm going to start putting my professor hat on and talk about the art of prompting. So I mentioned using a search engine. It's something that the first thing I did was, once I figured out Copilot, was, could it replace my search engine and could it make life easier? And the answer is yes, it could, right? So we've been using search engines for a number of years. I don't know when Yahoo launched it. It must be in the mid-90s, right? So approaching 30 years of people using search engines. So really used to using them, Google, Bing, Yahoo, there's a bunch of others, right? But we're also now trained to put in one word or more queries. So imagine you're doing a search for hotels in London. You'll just type in hotels in London, right? If you want to have other things on there, you would add them. And there's other syntaxes and everything, but it's not natural language. That's the problem, right? So quite often you'll do that. And then what you're trying to do is match keywords with whatever's in the index. So if I did hotels in London or iPhone versus Samsung Galaxy, I get my 41.7 million hits, right? Now I can go in there and do some, I think they call it Google Foo, where you can actually go in there and put some other parameters in and stuff. You can actually filter that down. But it gets a little bit complex, and the average person doesn't like to do that. So not just that, you've also got to look at thousands of results, because quite often it's never the first result you'll find is the one that you want. So, if you have to click through 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever links, it's not a great place to start. And now with the way advertising works and how search works, quite often the ads are at the top. You don't realize that. And then, the ad has some bias to that. It's not necessarily what you want, but you get what whoever paid the most to get to the top for it. So again, not necessarily a great experience. So I use Copilot and I use natural language in my prompt. My prompt search, again, comparable terms. And not just that, with my natural language, I can either type it. If I want to talk to Copilot, I can. The consumer version, I can talk to it. Or if there's, if I want to use the little microphone icon, so I don't have to just type, for type for sake, I can do that. Also, I can type in a prompt and it remembers it as a context there. So if I want to add to a question or filter down a little bit more, I just add to it. I don't have to retype the whole prompt again. I can say, okay, hotels in London, under $100. Oh, by the way, I need to be Piccadilly Circus. I can actually ask that. It also gives the most relevant results. So it's using some AI, looking at things that are of use. It's picking through all the ads and everything else, filtering all that stuff out, and giving you what you need, what it thinks you need. And again, it doesn't necessarily find it the first time. You can go in there and iterate on your prompt, but it will find that thing for you eventually. It can also generate content. So as you saw, generating blog posts, there's a whole bunch of things, you've probably again seen what ChatGPT can do. We can do the exact same things. We can generate emails and blog posts and pictures and a whole bunch of things. But certain things that, other engines don't do, we've got within the browser, I can actually pull up Copilot, summarize web pages. I can do other things like that as well. I can get, really look at things, and if I haven't got time to read every web page, right? So I can actually go down and filter down and summarize that. It saves me a ton of time. And then lastly, I can actually get all my prompts. And if I've got a bunch of them and I want to use them again, I actually say, hey, Copilot, create me a new prompt about everything I've asked for. So I was looking for a new car last year. I kept going back to it. I actually had one prompt that did everything in the end because Copilot generate that for me. I didn't have to go back and start conversation from scratch again. So there are a few little guidelines for prompting. So keep it simple and conversational. So everyday language. Now I can type in a search prompt, like hotels in London. It will find me something, right? But if you actually put some, you wouldn't say that to a person. So if I imagine I'm sitting with Mike having coffee, I wouldn't say, hey, could you recommend me? I wouldn't say to him, hey, hotels in London to him, right? He'd have a quizzical look on his face. I'd say, hey, Mike, can you recommend some hotels in London? He'd give me an answer. And he'd give me probably a good answer. I think Mike's been to London a few times. So imagine you're chatting to somebody. Don't think of it as an engine or a robot or something. Try and be clear. State what you want to do. So quite often I state ahead of time, like, I'm studying for a test or I'm going on a trip. It gives it a little bit of a context. It knows why you're trying to do something. And then it actually becomes more accurate in what it's trying to do. So instead of saying hotels in London, saying, well, I'm going to London in April on a trip. If I mention that ahead of time, it may come up with some different results and saying, okay, well, April's not too bad a time to go to London, but $100 a night's a bit of a stretch. It will tell me that. And that will give me some better answers and better results. Don't get too complicated. Now, I don't think that's such a problem. I think it's actually pretty smart. It can actually filter out the noise. But don't assume that, one thing is, don't assume that you've got, you can't just go to Copilot and start from scratch and assume it's forgotten everything or start from again. So there is a new chat button. And then if you're in that session, it will remember however long you're in that session for how long, your context is. But sometimes I forget to press the new chat and it kind of gets confused. So don't, ask it about nuclear fusion in hotels, because that might get a little bit interesting. There are some things that, Copilot can't do everything, at least not yet. The AI is not going to replace this yet. We're not into the days of the Terminator and stuff. So try and break down the task, make it simple, and then make your prompts maybe, stack them. So think of them as simple commands and then put a full stop or a period after each one. And then I can also use Copilot to do some, some other stuff as well. So I can actually ask it to set up the quiz and everything else. So you can also find, though, that you use the same prompt. If you use it twice, you do get different results sometimes. So just be aware of that. This is an interesting one. It's an AI, right? It doesn't take things personally, but nothing wrong with being polite. And sometimes it actually gives you a polite response back. So it's nice to think you're not just talking to, a machine. It's actually a nice little conversation. And again, I try to be polite with everybody I meet, right? So I try and be polite to Copilot as well, to a certain extent. Okay, first things first, you can't break anything using AI. Okay, so explore, experiment, type different things in. If you don't get things right the first time, you iterate on that prompt or add some context to it. But the trick is finding the limits of Copilot, and I haven't found them yet. And we've done some, we've got some cool stuff we're going to show in a minute, where literally I asked it something, and I couldn't believe it actually did it. So keep trying, keep practicing. And then lastly, once you're there and you're happy with it, start iterating, adjust prompts. And then, because again, not everything's the same every time, but, get to, practice stuff and refine. And prompting is an art or a skill. It's something to learn. Like you learned search X number of years ago when you first used your search engine. It's the same with this. Once you're used to it, though, just think of it as using natural language. It makes life a lot easier. And don't be afraid to ask it anything. So just to wrap that up, being verbose is better, but you don't need to get it right the first time. Okay, so if you ask a prompt, doesn't get it right the first time, that's fine, you can iterate on it. It's not like golf, the most number of shots wins, right? You don't need to get a hole in one. Ask it, and it will find stuff, and it gets better and better as you do that. It does remember context, so again, build up to what you want to get to. And again, if you want to come back to it later, say, hey, create a new prompt of everything I've asked for. I can come back and search, copy that prompt, copy paste it into something else, use it again later. Ask it if it needs any more feedback. So, don't be too, protective of what you're asking. If you're asking it to do a certain task, maybe asking it to generate we'll get to that actually the next slide, a job description, give it some more info and it says, hey, do you need any more info? And lastly, again, experiment. So here's a good example of two prompts you can put into Copilot. This one's actually in Word, but you can put it in a regular Copilot. It's fine. I can ask it to write a job description for senior project manager. That's an okay prompt. It will do something. However, it doesn't necessarily have any context around it. And I could actually iterate it in multiple other prompts. But what you can do is, if you know roughly what you want to do, you can actually create the prompt and build on it. And this is really pretty much that full iteration. And I can actually go and demo that now. Let's go ahead and do that. I'm actually at that point now. We can actually start showing you stuff and we can all join along. So before I do that, actually, let me just, go back to full screen again. If you haven't already done so, please log in or open Copilot in a browser. So the one at the top is the Microsoft 365 Copilot for the web. So if you've got that enabled in your organization, it will take you to Copilot, you'll get an interface, and it's behind your corporate walls as such. It's the exact same engine as the consumer one. The consumer one has some extra bells and whistles, but if you don't have access to that, this is the link to the consumer one. Okay, so unfortunately I can't share the links. I don't know if we can maybe put them in the Q&A. Oh, awesome.
I just posted them in the QA.
Awesome, thank you. So that'll open it in the browser. If you've got the app on your phone, you can do that too. That's quite happy. Or you can go to bing.com and click the little icon. There's a bunch of ways of getting to Copilot. And just to show you where you can access it, there's some examples. So if you've clicked the first link, for example, and you do have Copilot in your organization, Microsoft 365 Copilot, make sure you click the little web toggle on the top. Now, not everybody's going to see that, only if you have the full Microsoft 365 Copilot, but click on that. And there is a difference between them. I won't really go into that too deep, but Copilot for web is the one we're going to talk about today, and that's talking to the internet. If you have the one for work, which is awesome, I hope if you know that you do, then that actually looks at your internal stuff. So we're not using that one, we're using the one on the top. Alrighty, as I've spoken a lot, hopefully everyone's fired up Copilot. And I'm going to fire up Copilot as well. And we're going to start. And I'm also going to put to remind myself, I'm going to put my slides on my screen so I know where to get to on my demo. So let's start. And I think the first one I mentioned was around that project manager one, right? So let me, I might have to open up Teams somehow to do this. Or if Mike, if you can, again, help out. I'm going to ask it to write a job description for a senior project manager. Hopefully everyone can see my screen and it's big enough. Sorry, I've got a new keyboard and I'm not used to it yet. And of course, everyone's watching me, it's harder to type. So here you can see it did generate something. So imagine I asked it something very, very straightforward. It's created this, it's kind of guessed at it. It doesn't know really what it's about. But imagine if I actually got that, retype that prompt. And I'm going to use the one that's in the slides. And I'm going to copy that in. And then you don't have to type this one. This is one we're just going to.
Where are you getting that from? Which slide?
No, this is no. You don't have to put this one in the chat, Mike. This is just one. We're just a quick demo. Sorry, my bad.
Gotcha.
So this gives you an idea what the first one did. This is one that's going to show you what a more detailed prompt would do and why you should really look at detailed prompts. And here straight away you can see it's a much richer result. Okay. But we're going to actually go back to beginning again, and we're going to start doing some research. What I'm also going to do is start a new chat. Okay, so first things I'm going to do is I'm going to say I'm going to do my trip to London. So that first thing I showed you, trying to find a hotel. So I'm going to say I'm going to London in April. Find me a hotel for less than $100. And that's kind of like a basic prompt that we can all type in. And it's going to go out there and it's going to search the web. It's using the Bing index. And it's found a few. London's a very, very big place, right? So if you know London at all, King's Cross is near the middle. Earls Court's kind of westish London, Victoria. It's given me some ideas. But I'm actually going to ask it, I want to be near Piccadilly. What it's done now, this is this iteration, and it's pulling it in, and it's now narrowing that down to something else a little bit closer. And it's saying, these are the ones here. It's saying, so Oxford Street is, if you're familiar with London or Soho, is very, very close to Piccadilly. So is Bloomsbury. So here it's actually brought that down. And again, I'm not looking at millions and millions of hits. I've now got a few hits. So here I can go through. I've also got my link to where it found some of these ideas from. I can also ask it, I want to book with, I'm going to look for the ridge mount. How do, oops, my typing is awful today. Contact them. And here, now it's looking at those details, and straight away it's giving me the address of the hotel, the phone number, and the email address. So now I can just go ahead and do that. So in the space of 3 prompts, I've now found my lodgings for going to London in April. Imagine that being in a search engine. I could still be looking there in half an hour's time. Now, obviously, I still need to go out and book that, but you can see straight away it's made my life a lot simpler. Okay, so let's change it up a little bit. I'm going to now search for, mentioned before, I'm looking for a new car. So again, using Copilot as a search engine. So I'm going to tell Copilot I'm looking for an electric car. I have a budget of, it's actually not been too bad. I've got a fairly good budget of $50,000, which for electric cars is probably about the right ballpark, but would prefer cheaper. I need range of greater than 300 miles, so I don't really want to keep recharging this thing. And need to carry at least 5 people. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to ask it, give me a detailed comparison of cars, including range and cargo space. Now, I also want it to be helpful. I actually want to use this later. I'm going to put it into a spreadsheet. So I'm going to say, put the results in a table. Okay. So I'm going to try and, I'm going to get my prompts. I'm going to put that in the Q&A as well. Let me quickly do that. I'll post it. Okay, let's see what we get. So what it's doing now, it's going through, looking at that prompt, taking it to the LLM, large language model. And now straight away, it's giving me some prompts and some ideas and vehicles that will fit my capabilities. I asked it for greater than 300, so it's cut out some of the ones. I think the Chevy's smaller. I'm going to ask it something else. If my budget went to, let's just say I've had a really good year. I've won the lottery. Suggest some other vehicles and put them in the table. Straight away now, it's going to add my other alternative vehicles here. And you can see it's pulling in some more expensive vehicles as well. So here now, I've got options. I can go and do some further research. I can say, well, okay, fine. The BMW, oops, sounds good. Give me more details. And again, I'm iterating on that prompt, and straight away now I found this is like, oh, actually, this could be the perfect car for me if I won the lotto. So here straight away, I've done my research. I've found the vehicle that I like. It's even given me links to the BMW website. I can go and configure it or whatever it is straight away in a space of, I think, 3 prompts. So as a search engine replacement, that's a huge win. Alrighty, let's go to the next thing. Any questions in the chat, Mike? Are we all good?
We're all good, unless if you want to post a question, feel free to do it now, and we'll make sure we get to it. But you can go ahead. If I get one, I'll interject.
Sounds good. Okay, I'm going to change up a little bit, and I'm going to save you watching me type, because my typing is atrocious today for some reason. It's not got enough caffeine. I'm going to put this in the chat as well, and this is going to be around. I'm going to do some studying now, and I'm going to do a quiz. And I'm learning about history. I'm going to do a history test. It's going to be 5 multiple choice questions about Henry VIII. Now, Henry VIII was a king in the UK or in England in the 1500s. I don't know too much about it, but let me just ask Copilot to actually help me out here. So here straight away, Copilot's give me a little quiz. These are suggested prompts. I don't have to click those, but it just saves me typing them. So it's asked me straight away, what was the prime reason Henry VIII sought to annul his marriage to Catherine of Aragon? So he either fell in love with Anne Boleyn, Catherine couldn't produce a male heir, Catherine was unfaithful, there was political pressure from Spain. I think it was B, but let me guess that. Mike, if you've got any answers, let me know. Help with my history.
Will do.
Okay, so now you can see straight away it's giving me my first question, and then when I get to the end, it's going to give me a score and it's going to tell me the answer. So again, if I'm imagining studying for a test, now I could have put something else in. I could have said I'm studying for a Microsoft exam, I'm doing some testing, and studying for a medical exam or anything else. You know, if you're studying or training, this is something super useful that helps me or helps you without having to go and find some books and stuff. It'll actually do it for you. So which one was okay? I think that was, I don't know, I'm going to say C. I have no clue. Again, why I wasn't very good at history, right? That's why I'm working tech. So what reason did Henry VIII initiate his reign? I don't know, Spanish Inquisition. I don't think I'm going to do very well in this test. Which is Henry's children succeeded him after his death? I think I know that one. That was Edward. And then my last question was on the palace that Henry built. Okay, I know it's not Buckingham Palace. I think it's A, but we'll see. Okay, here's the correct answers. So how did I do? I got the first one correct. 3 out of 5's not bad. I don't know. What do you think, Mike? Could have done better, right?
I think you need to go study some more.
Yeah.
Stick to your day job, Daryll.
Stick to my day job. Okay.
That's right.
Alrighty. So let's start a new chat then. Let's try and do the next thing. So you saw me look for my hotel in London, right? I'm actually going to do that again, but I'm actually going to ask it to do a little bit more than that. So I'm actually going to ask it to find me some places to eat, as well as some good shows to go see. So I'm actually going to put the prompts in the chat. And again, save me typing and making loads of mistakes. Oh. Looks like I truncated the, sorry about that. I've actually missed a few characters off.
Just a reminder, everybody, he's pasted that into the QA so you can copy and follow along.
Absolutely. You can also, again, change it up. So if you want to say, well, I want to plan a trip to New York or a trip to Las Vegas, go ahead and do that. Don't have to do the same one that I do. Okay? Because that actually is part of the fun and games, right? This thing is so powerful. So here it's going to do that. It's going to find me the theatre district this time. It's also going to say, okay, these are great places to eat. Now, I'm not eating at any of those. Actually, that Roti King sounds good. Malaysian food. Yeah, okay. I'm in for that. And I've seen The Lion King on stage, but Hamilton sounds pretty cool. So straight away, I've got my trip planned. different hotels. So I'm in the theatre district this time. And straight away, made my life a lot simpler. Imagine putting this into a search engine. How long would you take? It would take ages. Okay, so while we're here, let's have some fun. So do you remember my little Funko Pop? How would everybody like to go and create their own Funko Pop? I can't hear anybody, so I'm assuming everybody's super excited to do that, but I'm going to put the
There was a
prompt in the
silent
chat.
roar.
Exactly, right. So I'm going to post the prompt, and I really do want you to go in there. I don't want you to all produce pictures of me, okay? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the prompt in the chat. I'm going to start it again, new chat. And this is showing the power of Copilot using Microsoft Designer. And Microsoft Designer is based on Daryll. What I'm going to do now, put the prompts in here. So Funko figure of Ramel. Yeah, if you saw my video, I've got a bald head and stubble beard. I'd like to smile, and then I've got my own name. So again, replace that with whatever you want to put in for yourself. Now, assuming everybody on the call works for Microsoft, so please put something else in there. And then put in what you think is, appropriate to you. And again, you don't have to do this right now if you want. You don't want. It does take a little while to render, but something to play with at the end, or something to do this afternoon is create Funko Pops, because it's actually really good fun. Okay, so I'm going to hit the generate button, and then this is the fun. We're actually waiting for Copilot to start processing those pictures, so he can see straight away it's thinking about it. I don't know if you can post the pictures to the Q&A, Mike. I don't think that'll work, would it? If everyone shares, I don't know if it's going to work, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, there's no attachment.
No, that's a shame.
QA.
We'd love to see how everybody else has got on. Now, again, it's made a few little. Sometimes this does happen, right? If you type it in again, it does actually. I don't know where it's picked these other random words up. Sometimes it does do that, so it's not perfect as such. But these are actually pretty decent. It's similar to the one I saw in the slide. So maybe that one's the one I can use. So straight away, so again, saying some fun for this afternoon. Let's go and create your own Funko Pops. Alrighty. Now, this is going to be the last demo for Copilot. Maybe we'll do one more on the browser, but so has everybody on the call heard of this little TV show called Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? And again, I can't hear you, so I'm assuming you're either nodding along or you've fallen asleep. But I'm going to share this little prompt as well. How would you like to practice before you went on the TV show? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to post the prompt in the chat or in the Q&A. And I'm going to ask it to give me a general knowledge quiz. Now, general knowledge is fine, but imagine, again, I'm doing a training exercise and I want to learn about something else. I could replace general knowledge and put something else in there. So maybe I want to learn more about AI and computers. It can give you a practice quiz on that. So you saw the first quiz was the multiple choice about Henry VIII. This one, though, is going to basically, Copilot's going to play a little game with me. So straight away now, it's asking me a quiz, but it's generating it as in that same as the game. So the capital city of France, well, I think I know that one. That's Paris. That's the $100 question. That should be good. Okay. I've now got the $200 question. The red planet, okay. Not too bad. We're going Mars. Chemical symbol O, okay. I have to remember my school chemistry. I think it's oxygen, so I'll go B. Final answer. Okay. Who wrote Romeo and Juliet? Okay, that's not too bad. I think that's Shakespeare. Okay, largest ocean. Now, I can't really phone a friend or ask the audience in this. I didn't actually put that as a prompt in Copilot. I guess I could have done that. The largest ocean, I believe, is the Pacific, though. So let me guess that. Okay. The smallest prime number. Okay, now, 0 is not a number, as a prime number. So I'm going to go 1. Okay, so there you go. I guess I don't know the answer to that. But here you can see straight away, it's given me that. I can say, do you want to try it again? Or I can start a new quiz. So it's just some of the examples of things that Copilot can do. It can generate content. It can play a little game with me. I can search for stuff. And that's it in its own interface. Now, going back to the browser, mention that thing about nuclear fusion. Do you remember that? Here I've got my little Copilot button. I'm going to launch that. And I can put the link in the chat for this as well if you want to play along. Or again, pick any web page that you want. It's you got free of choice there to choose one you want. But I'll share the Wikipedia one if you want. And now I'm going to ask Copilot, summarize this page. Now this is a big page, right? If I scroll down, yeah, there's a lot of stuff here. Okay. So Copilot's going to read it and then basically go through the same sections. It actually is cut off a little bit, but it's actually made it shorter. But straight away, it's giving me some answers. So again, I can read this. This is an appropriate Wikipedia page for me. Imagine having that at the beginning of every Wikipedia page. That'd be so helpful. Wouldn't have to read all this other stuff. But I'm also going to say, summarize it again. Oops, I can't spell. And explain it as if I were a 10th grader, so someone at high school level, because I'm definitely not a nuclear scientist. And I'm not sure you can actually see this. It's probably a little bit small on the screen. But here it's done that, and it's explaining it in a lot simpler terms. So anything that's complex, it can simplify it for me and give me the same information, but now I can actually understand it. And then maybe I can go back and read it and maybe better understand it before I even start going through there. So I realize we've got like 4 or 6 minutes left. I'm now going to go to my little demo that I mentioned earlier, and hopefully I've started my audio, share my audio. Otherwise it's going to be a little bit like it's all right. So anybody who's got the Copilot app, this is the consumer version. I'm going to now talk to Copilot, and hopefully you'll be able to hear it. So this is not, this is extracurricular activity. If you get a chance, download the app, download it to your phone. It's in the app stores of Google and Apple. It's also in the Windows Store as well. But I'm going to click the little.
Hi, Daryl. I was just wondering how my favorite person was. What's up?
Can everyone hear that? Mike, can you hear that?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Hey, Copilot. I'm going to Paris in a few weeks' time. Can you recommend some hotels?
For sure. If you're into luxury, try Le Meurice or the Ritz Paris. For a boutique vibe, Hôtel du Petit Moulin is cool. Or go artsy at Mama Shelter.
How far is the Ritz from the Louvre?
It's about a 10-minute walk from the Louvre. Super close.
Okay. Is there any other options to travel there? Metro or take an Uber?
Absolutely. You can take the Metro Line 1 to Palais Royal Musée du Louvre. Then it's a quick stroll. Or grab a cab for a 5-minute ride. Easy peasy.
That sounds good. My French isn't great. Now, can you give me 5 French phrases to practice, and then you can test me on?
Absolutely. Try these. Bonjour, hello. Merci, thank you. Excusez-moi, excuse me. Combien ça coûte? How much does this cost? And au revoir, goodbye. Give them a go.
Can you test me one at a time?
Of course. Say bonjour for me.
Bonjour.
Great. Now try merci.
Merci.
Awesome. Next up, excusez-moi.
Excusez-moi.
Spot on. Now, combien ça coûte?
Can you repeat that a little bit slower, please?
Sure. Combien ça coûte?
Combien ça coûte?
Excellent job. Last one. Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Nailed it. You're doing great, Daryl. Keep practicing.
Can you also give me a phrase and test me on it about how to find the Louvre from the Ritz Hotel?
Sure thing. The phrase is, comment aller au Louvre depuis l'Hôtel Ritz? Give it a try.
Can you say it again slower, please?
Sure. Comment aller au Louvre depuis l'Hôtel Ritz?
Comment aller Louvre depuis Hotel Ritz?
Bravo. Nailed it. That'll be super useful for your trip.
Okay, thanks, Copilot.
You got it, Daryl. Have a great time in Paris.
Thank you. So there you can see straight away where we're going with AI. It's pretty intelligent stuff. It speaks multiple languages. I can speak to it. I don't actually speak to it in English. I can speak to it in multiple languages, and then Copilot will respond to me. So think of all that AI that you can type in. You can actually speak to it as well, which is super amazing. And it's very, very good conversation. So it has context, has conversation. Everything that does the benefit of having it in the browser is on the speech interface as well. And I think that's my demo. So any questions on the channel, Mike? I know we've got like about a minute and a half. You're on mute, Mike. I think you're on mute.
I'm on mute.
Yeah.
I've been yapping away.
Yeah, I thought I was on my own for a minute.
So thank you, everybody, for joining. Couple of last takeaways. The blog post, I posted the address at aka.ms/HLS-blog. The recording and the deck will both be up there. And it will be in this post. I'll be updating that with the recording. Also, next week, you can join us. I have a piece already posted up. I'll be leading next week's session. Daryl and I are switching on and off. So we'll be talking about leveraging the power of Microsoft 365 Copilot for Outlook and Teams. And you'll see there's a link directly to, just like this one. Please let your colleagues know if you want to invite your friends, family, your children, whatever. Not the dog, but although we do welcome dogs. But, please let people know, and we'll be going through that. And we'll be doing these every week. I believe we have 6 sessions in total. So we'll be posting and then announcing and advertising them as we go along. But again, aka.ms/HLS-blog. You'll find this post will get updated by tomorrow. I have to do some trimming on the video, and then the announcement, and you can sign up and share right from here for next week's session. And that one I'll be leading. And like I said, we'll be switching on and off. That's it. And Daryl, thank you very much. This is a great session.
Oh, thanks, Mike, for the give me the opportunity to present. It's been awesome.
No, thank you for it. I loved like the examples you did. I think they're awesome. They're great. They're fun. And I love that anybody can do them, right? You don't have to have a corporate account to get your feet immersed.
Yeah, all free of charge. No licenses required.
You can't beat that. So
Exactly.
Thank you, everybody. And with that, we're going to sign off. Have a great rest of your Friday, and have a great weekend, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye
Thanks,
now.
everybody. Have a great weekend.